Have you ever felt that the more you know, the heavier the burden? That the deeper you understand the world, the more you feel alienated from it? Have you ever found yourself in a crowded room, listening to the laughter and the trivial conversations, and felt a profound, unbridgeable gap? A sense of loneliness so deep it feels like you're a different species? If you have, you are not broken, and you are not alone. What you are experiencing is not a personal failure, but a philosophical diagnosis. History is filled with thinkers who offered comfort, philosophers who built systems promising meaning, purpose, and divine order. They told us that knowledge would set us free, that wisdom leads to happiness. And then, there is Arthur Schopenhauer, the great 19th century German philosopher, the father of pessimism, a man who read the instruction manual for human existence and declared it a tragedy. Schopenhauer offered no comfort. He offered no easy answers, no benevolent God, no grand purpose. He offered only the cold, hard, brutal truth as he saw it. And his most terrifying secret? The one that forms the bedrock of his entire philosophy? It's the very idea in your title, that intelligence is not a gift, but a curse. That consciousness is not an evolutionary triumph, but a fatal mistake. And that for the person of high intellect, suffering is not merely a possibility, it is a guarantee. This is the story of why the smartest among us are often the most tormented. This is Schopenhauer's devastating answer to the question, why does it hurt to understand? To understand Schopenhauer's terrifying secret, you must first understand the most important concept in his philosophy. It is the engine of all existence. He called it, simply, the will, or more specifically, the will to live. Now, when you hear the will, do not mistake it for your personal will. You are not willing yourself to get a promotion, or to fall in love, or to be happy. Schopenhauer's will is something far larger. It is a blind, irrational cosmic force, a mindless, striving, metaphysical energy that pulses through every atom in the universe. It is an endless, primal hunger. The will has only one desire: to exist, to continue, to strive, to perpetuate itself forever. It is the force that makes a seed crack through concrete. It is the drive that forces a salmon to swim upstream to spawn and die. It is the relentless energy that fuels war and builds empires and tears them down. And we, humanity, are its ultimate expression and its ultimate slave. You think you choose your career? You think you choose your partner? You think you rationally decide your ambitions? Schopenhauer would laugh. He would say that your intellect, the very thing you prize as you, is merely a tool. It is a servant to its true master, the will. The will uses your brain to create reasons, to justify its own blind striving. You don't fall in love because of a soulmate. The will tricks you with romance so that it can create the next generation. You don't crave success for fulfillment. The will demands you conquer and consume to affirm its own existence. We are puppets, convinced we are the masters. And this is the source of all human suffering. Why? Because the will is a bottomless pit. Its nature is striving, not attaining. It can never be satisfied. This is the core of Schopenhauer's pessimism. Life, he famously said, is a pendulum, swinging back and forth between pain and boredom. The pain is the wanting, the striving, the hunger for something you do not have. This is the default state of the will. The boredom is what happens on the rare occasion you actually get what you wanted. The goal is achieved, the hunger is momentarily quieted, and what floods in is not happiness, but a dreadful, empty, existential, "Now what?" This feeling, boredom, is, for Schopenhauer, just another form of suffering. It is the realization of the futility of the striving itself. And so, we are trapped. We suffer from wanting, and we suffer from having. That is the cycle. That is the human condition. For everyone. but it is not experienced equally. For the vast majority, this tragic opera plays out in the dark. For the intelligent, it is performed under a single, brutal spotlight. Consider an animal, a deer in the forest. The deer experiences pain. When a predator attacks, it feels terror. When it is hungry, it feels discomfort. But it does not experience dread. It does not lie awake at night, contemplating the inevitability of its own death. It does not look back on its youth with agonizing regret. It does not question the meaning of being a deer. Its consciousness is locked in the present moment. Its suffering is real, but it is finite. It is physical, not metaphysical. But human consciousness, our vaunted intelligence, shatters this animal peace. It is the fatal flaw. It is the curse of the title. Intelligence gives us memory, and therefore regret. It gives us foresight, and therefore anxiety. Our intellect is an amplifier. It takes the simple physical pain of the will and magnifies it 1,000 times. We are the only animal that knows it is going to die. We are the only animal that can look at the vast, cold, silent universe and ask, why? And for the person of average intellect, the mind has defense mechanisms, denial, distraction, religion, simple pleasures, the ability to not think too deeply. But what about the person of high intelligence, the genius? For the genius, Schopenhauer argues, those defenses do not work. Their intellect is too powerful. It is too honest. The average person feels their own tragedies. The person of genius, they feel the tragedy of the entire world. They don't just see the individual puppet. They see the strings. They see the bleak, mindless mechanism of the will pulling everyone. They see the futility of the entire game. Consider a man who so deeply admired Schopenhauer that his philosophy became a dark continuation. Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche's brilliant, earth-shattering mind saw what others refused to see, the death of God, the collapse of traditional morality, and the gaping abyss of nihilism that lay beneath. His intellect was a relentless corrosive. It forced him to confront truths so terrifying that society, and eventually his own mind, could not withstand them. Nietzsche's profound isolation and eventual mental collapse were not in spite of his genius, but because of it. He was a perfect, tragic example of what Schopenhauer warned. A mind so bright, it burns itself out from the sheer, unfiltered horror of what it sees. This is the curse. To be smart enough to ask, why? But to live in a universe that offers no answer. This is the reality of the curse. If you are finding value in this deep dive, and if these are the kinds of profound questions you find yourself asking, consider subscribing. We explore the uncomfortable truths of philosophy and psychology every week, so you don't have to feel so alone in your thoughts. This leads to Schopenhauer's most isolating conclusion. If intelligence guarantees suffering, does that mean ignorance is bliss? In a word, yes. Why do most people seem, well, relatively content? Why do they obsess over trivialities, sports, celebrity gossip, office politics, the accumulation of material goods? According to Schopenhauer, it's because they are effectively fooled by the will. They genuinely believe that the next promotion, the new car, the perfect relationship, or the validation of their peers will bring them lasting happiness. They are completely immersed in the game, chasing the illusions the will dangles before them. Their reality is buffered by these simple, surface-level pursuits. The person of high intellect cannot participate. The genius sees through this. They look at the desperate scramble for status and see nothing. A hamster wheel. They listen to polite surface-level conversations and hear noise, a script. They see the great men of history not as heroes, but as the most tormented slaves of the will. They see the matrix. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. This awareness makes it impossible for them to relate to others. It creates an unbridgeable chasm. The genius is, by definition, an exile. Look at the life of Nikola Tesla, a mind that operated on a different plane, dreaming of free wireless energy for the world. while his contemporaries, like Thomas Edison, were masters of the social game, chasing profit, fame, and patents. Tesla was obsessed with the fundamental, hidden forces of the universe. He was awkward, obsessive, and utterly alone. He could not, or would not, play the shallow game of self-promotion and capitalist striving. Society, and the powerful men who ran it, saw his genius not as a gift to humanity, but as a threat to their profits. Tesla died penniless, alone in a hotel room, pigeons his only companions. He saw a future that others could not, and he paid the price for it in the present. His genius was his isolation. Or consider Vincent van Gogh. His paintings reveal a sensitivity, an awareness of the world so intense it was clearly agonizing. He didn't just see a cypress tree, he saw the screaming, striving, vital will of the tree itself, twisting towards the heavens. This profound, unfiltered vision made him an outcast. Society saw madness, eccentricity, and failure. Schopenhauer would have seen a man cursed with too much clarity, a man who felt the will of the world so acutely that it shattered his mind. He too died in poverty, unrecognized. This is the fate of the genius. They are, as Schopenhauer wrote, like a man at a ball who has received an insult which he is not allowed to castigate. They must live among people whose reality they cannot share and whose pursuits they see as hollow. So, if we are slaves to a blind will, and if intelligence only makes the prison bars more visible, are we doomed? Is there any escape? Schopenhauer offers no happiness. The word is a mirage. He only offers liberation, a temporary or perhaps permanent cessation of the striving. He saw three paths, not to happiness, but to peace. The first and most accessible path is aesthetic contemplation. Have you ever been so lost in a piece of music, so absorbed by a profound painting, or so captivated by a sunset, that you disappear? Your worries, your desires, your sense of self, it all just fades away. In that moment, Schopenhauer says, you have done the impossible. You have temporarily escaped the will. Your intellect is no longer a servant to your desires. It is freed. You are no longer a striving individual, but a pure, will-less subject of knowledge. You are not wanting anything from the art, you are simply beholding it. For Schopenhauer, this was the highest function of art and the closest a human can come to temporary bliss. It is a fleeting holiday from the prison of our own desires. The second path is compassion. This is Schopenhauer's ethics. When you look at another person, even a person you hate, or a suffering animal, what do you see? A genius, Schopenhauer argues, sees the truth. That other person is just another manifestation of the exact same tormented will that is in you. Their striving, their pain, their desperation. It is your pain, just wearing a different mask. When you truly realize this, that all of life is one unified suffering entity, your individual ego dissolves. Hatred and selfishness become absurd. You stop feeling anger and you start to feel universal empathy. In sharing the pain of others, you lessen the obsession with your own. The third and final path is the most extreme, asceticism. If the will is a fire that feeds on desire, the only way to extinguish it is to starve it of fuel. This is the path of the saint, the monk, the ascetic, the complete and total denial of the will. To renounce all worldly desires, wealth, fame, pleasure, even the desire for life itself. Through meditation, fasting, and a rejection of all striving, one can, Schopenhauer believed, achieve a state of nothingness, a quiet, profound peace that he equated with the Buddhist concept of nirvana. This is the only permanent solution to the problem of existence. To turn and deny the very will that gave you life. It is a quiet, spiritual suicide. A final triumphant no to the cosmic tyrant. Schopenhauer's secret is, in the end, a devastating one. Intelligence is the tragic byproduct of a blind, striving will. It is an evolutionary mistake. It is the spotlight that illuminates the prison cell, revealing the bars, the chains, and the utter pointlessness of the guard's patrol. The more you see, the more you suffer. The more you understand, the more you are isolated from those who live happily in the dark. But his philosophy, as dark as it is, offers a strange, profound validation. If you have ever felt this way, if you feel this world is not your home, if you feel alienated by its shallow games, if you feel your own thoughts are a heavy burden, you are not broken. You are not wrong. You are simply seeing clearly. You are bearing the curse of intelligence, and in that, as Schopenhauer himself found, there is a strange, profound, and solitary dignity. You are an exile, yes, but you are an exile who sees the truth. But this is Schopenhauer's truth. What is yours? Do you agree that high intelligence is a guarantee of suffering? Or have you found a way to reconcile deep thought with a meaningful life? Share your perspective in the comments below. Let's discuss this tragic truth together. But this is Schopenhauer's truth. What is yours? Do you agree that high intelligence is a guarantee of suffering? Or have you found a way to reconcile deep thought with a meaningful life? Share your perspective in the comments below. Let's discuss this tragic truth together.